In this video, we will be talking about ways to modernize the waste sector and make improvements to the renewable energy using the Wilson Steam autoclaves.
Welcome to ProfileTree TV, and today we're joined by Sheila Hughes here in the Innovation Factory in Springfield Road. Sheila, welcome. Thank you very much for coming in. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your company.
I am Sheila Hughes and I am the marketing manager of Wilson Biochemical. At Wilson Biochemical, we are technology providers for the waste to energy sector.
Wow, excellent. So recycling industry then as a whole, or not? No?
It's more so for the waste management sector.
Excellent. So,
what we would do is our technology is called the Wilson system. Now this is a steam autoclaving system that can treat up to 150,000 tons of waste per year.
wow.
A few of our highlights would be that we can divert up to 90% of waste from landfill. We can reduce the volume of waste by 80%.
Wow.
And the product that we can create from your waste is called Wilson Fibre, which is a renewable energy feedstock.
Amazing.
Yes.
So how does the system work?
Okay, so the Wilson autoclaves will take unsorted municipal solid waste, so your black bin bag waste. The waste is then fed into an autoclave, and the autoclaves are like big steam pressure cookers. The waste is then treated with a dry saturated steam, and the temperature is held at 160 degrees centigrade, and it'll be cooked for about an hour. So each system will have two vessels that work in tandem, so we can treat 20 tons of waste per hour. After processing, all your food, your paper, your cardboard, your grass, your any organic waste gets broken down into a cellulose fiber, and the rest of the material, so your plastics, the metals, your glass, that's all ready for recycling. It's very easy to separate post-autoclaving. The autoclave itself actually does the recycling for you.
Wow.
So it's really easy when the material starts coming out of the autoclave, you can pick out all the plastics, then it goes through just a regular separation system. And the main point of our technology is that we produce this cellulose fiber. So this is our feedstock now for renewable energy developments.
Excellent. So it's a feedstock that can be given to animals?
No, it's a feedstock that would be used in combustion purposes. So we can use it with gasifiers or anaerobic digestion or paralysis.
Very good. So actually you're taking waste and then you've got an output that's useful?
Yes. It's almost, instead of, waste energy plant, it's like a fuel preparatory system.
Amazing. Excellent. And what vehicles, so fuels vehicles then, yeah?
We can do that too down the line. So basically what we would like, our Wilson Fibre, you can use it in a basic CHP plant. So that's a combined heat and power.
Wow.
So you can feed it into this plant, it will burn it, and it will generate electricity that you can put back onto the grid.
Incredible.
So now it's just electricity being created from a renewable resource.
Very good. So basically, yeah, you're taking our domestic waste and you're taking it, treating it in your steam process, your magic process. That sounds incredible. And then you're actually generating a fuel that can be used then to generate electric back. So we're getting the full cycle. Amazing. So there's a lot of things happening around us now with recycling. It's a very hot topic over here, and sometimes in the US. And actually, your accent is obviously you're from that side of the water. So you see a future that we're going to have to recycle. You think that no matter what happens, we are going to have to recycle.
Of course, there is a plastics crisis happening. We can see it on Facebook every day. We see it in all these new documentaries coming out. It is thankfully getting the attention that it deserves. Now, the autoclaving system, it's not going to change the plastics that's in the ocean right now.
Yeah.
But we can change the future trends on how we are actually recycling. A funny fact that people don't actually realize some of the times is that when we are recycling at home, if I do a really great job on recycling my materials and I clean everything out and you put something wrong into your bin following me, the whole load is contaminated. So that actually contaminated load can still end up going to landfill or get shipped abroad for incineration.
Wow.
So the beauty of an autoclave is you don't have to worry about this beforehand. An example that our engineer always loves to give is if you put a tin of beans in the autoclave, the beans will turn into fiber and the tin will be completely sterile and ready for recycling.
Incredible. So it does actually the sorting that as you say, because I know for a fact, and I see it myself when we've kids in the house and we're trying to educate them to recycle, but sometimes they do not put the right things in the right boxes, and I'm sure it goes out, and I'm sure in many other households as well, it does go out. And now, from what you're saying, I understand that we're contaminating, then we're making the load, it's not as it should be, so we're causing problems then for the recycling.
We can cause problems, and it's hard for the Environment Agency and the governments to actually keep track of this. So the recycling rates that you do hear that the UK is reaching doesn't necessarily take this into consideration. Now, it's going to happen. It is basic human error, and we're not sitting here trying to deter people for doing their bit and trying to recycle, but it's a safer option that we can actually divert this from landfill.
Amazing, excellent. And where do you see the future of recycling? So at the moment, we all have our little bins at home, and we're putting our different things into the different boxes, and they go out every 2 weeks. Do you think that will continue for many years, or obviously you're trying to introduce systems like this into the whole ecosystem?
I do think it will continue and it should continue, but it will be down to each municipality. So some municipalities might have a better recycling scheme in place and not suffer too many problems, but then there are certain areas that it could be different for them, and it might give us a more continuous and easier recycling system, rather than, say, if my street I have 5 different bins and you have 3 bins, this is where all the confusion's led from too. So we can alleviate those problems, but we are here to make a better environment, and we want recycling and safer waste procedures in place. So no, we don't want people to stop caring about what they throw out and to reuse their materials as much as possible.
Very good. And do you see a change? So obviously, how long have you been in this industry? Is it?
I've been working with Wilson Biochemical for the last 8 years.
Wow. Okay. So definitely. So have you seen a change in those 8 years in the attitude and what's happening in the waste and recycling industry?
Yes. There are newer technologies coming out and being implemented, and municipalities are backing these up. Belfast alone, we have a new gasifier coming into the city.
Wow.
So there is a lot happening on the waste front. Now the difference is the autoclaves are a more efficient technology. They harness the value of waste better than a gasifier would. The trouble with treating waste is it's a heterogeneous in nature. So every load of waste that you take in, none of it's going to be the same. And this causes a lot of problems for certain technologies like gasification, because the energy yield can be all over the place. Now what our system will do is when it breaks it down into fiber, it is homogeneous, so it is the same every time. No matter where the waste comes from, if there is organic fraction of the waste going into the autoclave, the cellulose fiber will come out. And we've tested this over and over, and it's just, we have repeatability, consistency, and it's the same product at the end. So this will actually alleviate any troubles different technologies are having to produce energy from MSW.
Amazing. So, and as you say, it's consistent every cycle?
Every cycle, every time. Wilson Fibre is exactly the same.
Wow.
Now, like our company even has it's a Lloyd's of London process guarantee. So we are backed up to say that whatever we put in, we know this will break down into fibre that can be used.
Amazing. And what's the uses of the fibre then? Have you found it different, so it creates electricity?
Well, we can create electricity. We've spent a lot of time doing research and development on our products. There was actually a guy recently who was in the waste sector that said something funny to me, and it was, if you're going to pick it up, you need to know where you're putting it down, and that stands very true in the waste sector. And it rang a bell with us at Wilson, because obviously we're saying that we have this great product called Wilson Fibre and we can do X, Y, and Z with it. We have to prove that we can do it, and we need the empirical data, and you need the research behind it. So over the last 5 years, we have done a lot of grant work, and whether it's grants through Innovate UK or the EU, we've teamed up with academia. So we work a lot with the BDC, the University of York, the University of Nottingham, the University of Leeds. The list is endless. And it is important because we're a small company. there's only 5 of us, mostly made up of engineers and a chemist. And unfortunately, I'm not an engineering background myself, so you have to rely on the expertise of somebody else. And academia is a perfect place to find this. So one of our first grants that we started working on is to create biobutanol from the fiber. Because the fiber is actually high in carbon and it's very high sugar content, we were able to put it through, now this is going to sound very technical.
Well, that's brilliant. I'm fascinated with sugar, actually high in sugar as well.
Yes. So if you put it through a hydrolysis and fermentation process, you can create acetone, hydrogen, ethanol, and butanol. Now, when we develop this further, this is when we can create biobutanol for fuel for your cars and airplanes, etc. We are working with Innovate UK again, and we have a collaboration with NADAMS in India. So we're looking at treating sugarcane waste to create citric acid. Now this is all brand new project underway, but if you can crack the sugarcane problems in India, you're opening up your markets to Brazil and to other places all around the world.
So India's a sugarcane problem? Is it from the waste?
Yes, sugarcane waste. So we're trying to introduce more sustainable and efficient farming methods and to give sugarcane farmers another way to make money.
Incredible. You know, being here, Belfast, Ireland, you don't actually think of other countries around the world having problems with even different types of waste. It's so sugarcane is obviously India. You mentioned Brazil, and the other regions then of different products that are problems. Is it or America would have, I guess, Central America and America would have the same waste issues as us. Europe would be the same. Is there other, like, every region, every country is a different?
You do come across
Unique
different types of waste.
Yeah.
So for example, in Northern Ireland we have a big issue with chicken litter.
Wow.
That's a huge one for us here.
Amazing, yeah.
So the problem with chicken litter is when it used to just be spread across the land, but chicken litter is high in nitrates. Now this is seeping into the waterways, and there's a lot of controls being put on where you can actually spread it and how it's stored and all of this. And as you know, in around Tyrone, there's hen houses everywhere you look.
Yes.
So we are looking at testing mixing chicken litter with MSW and see if we could process it that way.
Incredible. Because I grew up on a farm, so actually, and we had chickens.
There you go.
A chicken house, so I didn't know that.
Yeah, my uncle has hen houses too. There's eggs all over the place.
Yeah, stop. And I remember we used to catch the chickens, and you get waste on your hands, and actually it would burn. It would, because as you say, exactly what you're saying, there's
nitrates, ammonia.
Yes, incredible.
All
like,
of it.
When I think back, you know, you wonder now, like, oh my word, like. But it's amazing. You don't realise what's going on in your environment around us, and probably we're so detached from it sometimes. We just like to come in at the evenings, switch on the TV, and forget all about it. We can put our things in a recycling box, and after that we don't know. So it feels like I'm going back to my chemistry class here, and all these phrases are coming back to me. But so R&D is critically important to your company then. So
Yes.
Every stage, it sounds like everything you've done has been, you've invested in a lot of R&D. Is that what happens?
That is correct. So we had built a commercial scale facility some years ago. So we know the technology works on a large scale, and we can treat 150,000 tons of waste. We almost did it in a backwards way. So we started with a commercial scale plant, and then recently through these grants and the research and development, we now built a smaller plant, so a lab scale facility. So with the BDC, they're an affiliate of the University of York, we've built a micro autoclave fiber production plant. Now the purpose of having this is strictly to produce fiber for the testing. This autoclave, it's a small autoclave that can treat up to 50 kilos of waste per hour. And the last project, and we built it towards this project, was to create a biocoal material. Now the entire process, so like before, you take in the waste, it is treated with a dry saturated steam. The organic content breaks down into fiber, and then we've gone a step further. So once we have the fiber, it is then pelletized, and it goes through a torrefaction process, and this creates a coal-like substance. So we increase the energy density, increase the carbon, there's low sulfur emissions, and it's a substitute for coal.
Amazing. So another fuel type.
Another fuel, and we've actually achieved end of waste status on this material as well.
Incredible. So, when the plants are launched and out in industry, will there be big plants or small plants? What size will it be?
A 2-vessel system would take about 6 acres of land.
Wow.
So it is quite a factory feel to it. So you'll have waste coming in one side, going through the entire process, and then the way the system really works, it's what the customer wants. So if you don't want biocoal, you don't have to have it.
Incredible.
You
Yeah,
can-
you have the option.
You have the options. It can work for wherever in the world it really is.
Yeah,
We can make the system fit.
I got you. Yeah, excellent. And who is your customer? Is it councils, governments?
We are looking at councils, municipalities. We are looking towards private landfill owners, transfer station owners.
Incredible. And a target audience or target market is obviously UK.
UK, we are working in the US, so we have a sister company called Hughes Energy Group, and that is our sales team and our sales force for Wilson Biochemical.
Very good.
So they are working away in the US. We have a lot of interest there too.
Excellent. And how are people, are they receptive to new technologies like this? Because obviously it's incredible. We do have a problem with recycling. We do have a problem with waste. I don't know if we're going to produce more, or governments are trying to educate us, and we're trying to educate our kids. We're getting the taxes on our shopping bags so we can reduce the shopping bags. But there is a serious will and interest to change how we recycle.
Yes.
Across the board, yeah.
There is interest. One of our famous quotes within the company is, everybody wants to be first to be second. So there's always a fear behind investing money into a new technology. Everybody wants to see it up and running and to see it working for 2 years before they sign up to buy one. So we are at the stage that we do have a lot of projects in the pipeline, and we have a lot of interest at the table right now. So it's just getting our first project across the line, start building an autoclave and get it up and running.
Excellent, excellent. And where do you hope that'll be in the UK?
We're hoping the first one will be in the UK.
Very good, fingers crossed. Yeah. So we'll have to get hit some of the social enterprises and government. So it would be a council then, would be your target customer.
Not exactly
No?
a council. It depends on how the waste industry works.
So it's different in each region then, yes?
It will be different in each region because it will be different the way Northern Ireland works for collecting the waste and their waste contracts here than it is in the US.
Gotcha. And does that make it a challenge for you?
Yes,
the company?
it's more difficult because even just to say who's your waste audience, we can go across a lot of different options here.
Yeah.
And it's the same on our back end technology. Our target audience, what could be, do you want to make electricity? Do you want to make biofuels?
Wow. And then it's a challenge then, and you're obviously trying to market and position the brand and the company and explain the message to different audiences. That's a challenge.
It is.
Wow. And what do you find is the best way to do that? Do you actually have to meet people face to face and explain it to them? Or what's the best way to?
We have been doing quite a few conferences, and that does help. But the thing about going to these conferences, it's everybody that's already in your industry, so they are going to be focused on the waste sector or the renewables. So I suppose it's very important just to get local people to understand what we want to do.
Of course, yes. And do you think people are average Joe like myself were receptive to it?
I think so. I think if the technology is explained in a
Yes.
simple manner,
Yes.
because I know when I joined the company, hearing the engineers talk about it, it's overwhelming sometimes.
I understood every single word. Amazing though, as I say, I'm thinking fermentation. I know what that is. So no, it's brilliant. But it does. No, it's very technical solution. But we need something that's smart that can actually take the problem we have today, and actually, if it can produce something that's useful as opposed to landfill, it's incredible. Because I look at all the landfill sites we have around here, how much land, and now, like, I think we had a landfill site down the docks here in Belfast, which is prime real estate now.
Yep.
But oh my word, like, how many years does it take for a landfill site to become safe?
That's it, and they're costly, and it's hard to run, and they're difficult to manage. And then for here as well, nobody likes the word incineration.
don't mention incineration.
Exactly. So don't
mention-
worry, we are far from it. Our
yeah, well,
technology doesn't come close to it.
You know,
We
so
don't
exactly-
burn anything, so we are not incinerators.
No, very good. So, and that's a good point. Thank you. So, because obviously, yeah, that's another disaster, and it's more fumes into the environment, and then we're breathing in the smoke. But you use steam. You take it to a certain point, and
Yes.
you change the properties of the waste, and then you get the. See, I should be in.
You can come join the team whenever you want.
That's it. Change the world together. That's it. No, brilliant. No, it actually does sound in an incredible solution that I can see why we need it. And I guess another question then: do you think if fuel types change, so we're talking about vehicle fuels or burning coal, so you can actually change the output to match? So if we end up going with electric cars in a couple of years, then again the system can change to meet that demand.
I think for that question, it will be to see what type of research and development we'll have to carry out. That's not something that we've looked at right now, but if there's opportunities there, we can see what we can work with.
Very good. I guess the focus. I guess the focus is taking the waste problem we have today and solving it today, which is incredible. And I'm just thinking again, the move from diesel and petrol all towards electric, and even in the houses and burning coal and smokeless fuel. So is the end fibre that is burnt, is it environmentally safe? Is there fumes or?
It is environmentally safe.
Very good.
So in the last few years in the UK, there was a big push towards, even the homes to have biomass burners in the house.
Yes.
And you're getting money to put
Of
your new stoves in. And now everything has come out to say that it's harmful to everyone's health. There's particulate matter coming into the atmosphere. So they have started the clean air strategy, and our fibre is within all the emission controls. So we are at least bringing a new fuel to market that you can use for domestic use. And you would be able to use it commercially. So when we have the biocoal, ideally it's meant for commingling with coal. So if you had a coal-fired power station, you can replace a ton of coal, mix it with our Wilson biocoal, reduce your emissions, and still get the same energy outputs.
Incredible. So again, just because I know you've an international traveller, is America, so obviously we know, and I'm watching this and locally here in the UK, we know what our own waste system is, but in countries like America, is it more advanced, same, worse, different system altogether?
Similar systems. We still have coal-fired power stations in the US. Wood pellets are becoming very popular in the US as they are here.
Wow.
So the UK is one of the biggest importers for wood pellets in the world. Most of their wood pellets are from the US, Canada, and Latvia. Now, this was another
Strange, yeah.
another recent discovery where we were told that wood pellets would be a renewable resource and it's good for the environment. We're saving on carbon emissions, when in turn it's the exact opposite.
Wow.
So never mind the fact that you're shipping wood pellets all the way from the US.
Of course, to here, yeah.
To here, and you're energy dependent on all these different countries. When they are cutting down these trees, you're obviously facing issues of deforestation and losses in biodiversity. And the amount of carbon that wood pellets emit is just as bad as coal. And we are creating a carbon sink, so even though there's been trees replanted to replace what's being cut down, it takes however many amount of years for the trees to regrow again. So we are coming to market at a perfect time. Everyone's relying on wood pellets, and we can replace this now.
Well, actually, when you say that, it just makes perfect sense, because I'm just seeing ships of wood pellets coming across the water. You're just going, it's crazy. So basically your solution, what you're trying to do is take the food waste, the domestic waste, industrial waste that we have here, transport it maybe a couple of miles,
Yes.
turn it into a fuel that's useful, and recycle that way, as opposed to shipping from Latvia and the US. Incredible. So it does make perfect sense.
Yeah.
Amazing. So really then, the future, we really have to look at our domestic waste and try and turn it into a useful resource at all costs, because probably the only way we can go forward and actually improve what we're doing in recycling at the moment.
Yes, I do believe that. I think if people start to understand that there is actually value in our domestic waste, we can look at the waste industry in a completely different light, and as well look at the renewables in a different way. Even if you were to talk about biofuels, a lot of this is made from ethanol from corn. We are facing issues of land use, and there's food versus fuel debates. So we have something that we produce every day, we can't get rid of in an easy manner, that's causing problems. So it's taking that problem and actually making it a solution.
Incredible. So such a debate, because you think the numbers add up. It just it's like 1 + 1 is 2, but as we know in life, in politics and business, things aren't always that straightforward. But it's incredible. Yeah, if you put it in paper, it actually makes sense. No matter what happens, we have to recycle our food waste in a smart way and use it locally and not be transporting it away. And I don't know, again, was this hearsay or I'm misinformed here, but did countries used to transport waste for recycling to other countries? Have you ever encountered that in the past? Did we ship waste to China for recycling? Was that part of
Oh, absolutely. All the plastic waste used to be shipped to China, and they put a ban on that.
So that did happen, yeah?
Yes.
We were doing that.
We were doing that. Waste still is being transported overseas to Europe, but this will be in the form of SRF, so solid derived fuels. Now, these plastics and this type of waste is being shipped for incineration. Again, it's the big dirty word. You can have better value from these plastics if they are properly recycled, which is what we're aiming to do.
And you think in shipping companies, why would people do this? Governments? That was the system. That was the easy way out, the cheap way out.
It's the easy way out. It's what we believed was the right thing to do at the time, perhaps.
I know and understand, and hence again why you invest so much in the R&D. You're trying to find out the best way. No, it's amazing. So we really need to, back to what you're doing here, and it's great that you're here with us. You're educating people, like myself, silly me. But again, it's brilliant. So now I actually understand. So a food waste can be used and can be a useful resource, as opposed to what we have been doing and what we could be doing with alternatives. Because actually, to be honest, most people, once it goes on the bin, Tuesday the box comes in empty again. We don't care. We don't know. So it is incredible. Like, I wonder how many people have actually seen inside a recycling plant or seen what actually happens. And I often wonder, back to the newspapers and boxes that we get back in, are they actually half them recycled? Is it all new product again? Who knows, really?
It's a funny one. If you even look at the coffee cups recycling, that's another disaster that hit the media's attention. So there's 250 billion coffee cups going to landfill every year. Most people were under the assumption that they were recyclable, because if you look at a coffee cup, you think it's cardboard. Throw into the recycling bin. But it's actually the lining on the inside of the coffee cup. That's a thin layer of plastic that cannot be recycled then, because it's together. Now, we actually did a trial on strictly coffee cups, and it came out great. So the coffee cups were broken down into fiber. The coffee cup lids will then form into a ball where you can lift out the plastic. That's ready for recycling, and you're left with fiber. So instead of landfill, you can use coffee cups to create fuel for energy.
Because the government did have, in every budget, they have an opportunity to change our behaviour by putting taxes in. And I was amazed, absolutely flabbergasted. I buy them as well, and I don't bring in a recycling cup. That's just out of habit. I'm not incentivised, and human nature, we're all lazy at the end of the day. But there's no incentive. Whereas plastic bags, I'm walking into a supermarket and I'm kicking myself as I'm walking in, and sometimes we walk back to the car because I don't want to buy another bloody 3 bags. But again, I just can't believe that we don't have a penalty on these cups, and we're charging people for not using recycling cups. It's incredible. But again, your solution then, your system could solve the problem.
Yes, we can solve the problem, and we can save. If they're going to start putting taxes on stuff, you can save this money from the taxes and just put it into a sustainable waste management system.
So it's just amazing, again, back to the decisions. how ordinary people ourselves, we don't understand sometimes what the decisions are and why they're made, and what the big picture is, because again, why is this not in place already? We something that we definitely and clearly need, look after the recycling. It feels, I think there's a placebo effect maybe in place, where again, back to it, the bin leaves us.
Yes.
And I've done my recycling actually, and there is a bit of I'll be totally honest, I'm thinking like the tubes of toothpaste this week, the boxes of the tubs of the plastic water, the butter dishes, the cardboards in the Amazon boxes for Christmas, all gone. And there is, you actually do feel good putting them in the different little
Yes.
boxes, and you feel good that you filled them and put them out. But it clearly is it's a placebo. It's not really maybe the best solution at the end of the day.
Like, I don't want to sit and say that everyone's recycling habits are just wasted. It does work.
Oh no, of course
to a certain
it does.
extent.
No, it does. It
But,
does better than going into landfill.
yes,
but there is,
but some will still end up in landfill.
and there is a better solution.
There is a better solution.
So we
out
just
there.
need it. We just need to push
Yes.
to get it in place. And that's it. Demand the penalties on the coffee cups. I'll be complaining next time I'm in Starbucks or somewhere. And I have to
Yes.
pay extra 5p for a cup. But what to do? So no, thank you very much for sharing and educating us today. So if anyone wanted to find out more about your solution, your system, and what you guys are doing, what's the best way for them to find out? Is there?
You can learn more about the technology on our website. So we have wilsonbiochemical.co.uk
Excellent.
and hughesenergygroup.com. There's some educational videos there. You can see the engineers talking about the system, or you can just get in touch with me through the websites. My email address and contact details are there.
Excellent. And we'll have the links for all of those in the description below this video as well.
Okay.
So thank you very much for coming in and explaining, blowing my head with how recycling works and what the future entails and the options there. Again, most people probably don't even realise, so I really appreciate you taking the time out and coming in and sharing that with us. Again, thank you for joining us today and being educated as well. So this is Kieran from ProfileTree, and no doubt we will see you in tomorrow's video.